Hello, Blitz fans of all ages, it's me, PlumCastle, and today we are going to be taking a look at yet another special tank that is within the game files that hasn't actually been released yet. And again, thank you to MegaLion69 for providing this image because this tank looks pretty unique, we'll say. Now, a link to his socials will be down below, but without any further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at not only what the tank looks like, but more importantly, its statistics. So if I come over to my nifty expanded tech tree here, we can see that right here is the Tier 8 KPZ. Now, this is the KPZ PR68P, which, while that is a mouthful, is pretty standard when it comes to German tank namings. However, what is not conventional is the look here. Now, the turret is kind of reminiscent of, say, German lights or mediums, but the shape of the hull definitely is not. Now, being a German light tank, we can't really expect a whole lot when it comes to armor. You're looking at the strongest area is the front of the turret, sitting at 150 millimeters, not taking into consideration angles, and I'm sure that mantlet probably has something going for it, but as a general rule, you're looking at about 80 millimeters or less, pretty much around the entirety of the tank, with the back being very easily HE'd, sitting at 50 millimeters for the back of the turret, and then 60 for the back of the hull itself. Now, that said, looking at this, now I have not played this, but looking at it, it looks like that is a lot of spaced armor. Hopefully this is not just visual and that this is actually effective, because if that is the case, heat rounds will have a very interesting time trying to get through the side of the hull itself, and HE shells could theoretically get absorbed and not deal as much damage in quite a few places, which is super duper cool. Now, hit points 1,300. I believe that is slightly more than I would normally anticipate on a tank like this, which is of course nice, especially considering you can get damaged pretty much everywhere. Now, being that this is a medium, view range is not all that super spectacular. 250 meters, that's definitely better than your average heavy, but it's certainly not up to what a light would be. In terms of concealment, while stationary you've got 24, which is actually decent. While moving you have 19, so not as high but still good, and then firing while stationary is 5, so the moment you fire you're pretty much spotted. Same with just about every tank. However, the other concealment values are definitely nice. It means you could probably sneak around with this tank a little bit. Damage per minute, 1,699. Personally, I would really like to see that number around 2,000, but I mean, I guess that's okay. It's not fantastic, but it could be worse. Reload time is 13.42 seconds, so that you're going to have to wait a little bit between shells, which is probably where the damage per minute comes from. But in terms of penetration, you're looking at 221 for AP rounds, 258 for APCR, and 50 for high explosive. Given that this is tier 8 and not tier 10, I suppose those values are okay. 258 should be able to get through a lot of stuff, and especially given the caliber of the gun, we can't expect too crazy numbers. 221 though, you might find that you struggle to penetrate a few super heavies, though again, we're talking about super heavies and this is a medium tank. But what's more interesting is the average damage. So it is 380 for AP rounds, 320 for APCR, and then 500 for high explosive. So if you somehow manage to penetrate your high explosive, theoretically in your own turret, if you're going against another one of these, you're dealing 500, which is a decent amount for especially a German medium tank. 380 is also pretty nice, so I guess that does kind of warrant the 13-second wait. In terms of aiming time, 4.5 seconds. That's a little bit longer than I'd probably like to see, but then again, this is a medium, so we can't expect a light tank experience. And the dispersion is 0.384, which is a little bit higher than your average, so this tank will take a little bit of time to zoom in and take a little bit of time, or it'll take some time to zoom in and it won't be like super laser beam accurate, but it'll probably be pretty decent and okay, especially given the distance you're probably going to be shooting from. In terms of gun turn limit, 15 up, nothing too particularly special in that. However, you have a gun depression of 9 degrees, which is actually a fairly decent value. Not quite as good as 10, but enough to get pretty much any job done that 10 could. Now, in terms of speed, Forward is 45, so that's definitely a heavier medium kind of speed. Reverse is 18, your overall speed being 29. Power to weight being 14.6, weight being 52.79. So yeah, this is a slightly heavier tank. It's not like super heavy, but it's not a piece of paper either. In terms of turret turn rate, and this is actually a very good one to know, 31.29 degrees a second. So sitting at about 30 degrees a second on the turret, and sitting at about 40 degrees on the hull. And I'm sure putting on some provisions will kind of improve those values. But overall, you're looking at about 70 degrees a second, which is a nice rate to turn around. Yeah, it's not the fastest, but you will probably not run into too many cases where somebody is going to be circling you, which is really good because circling a medium tank is a little bit of an odd thing. In terms of terrain crossing capacity, you're looking at 104 for road, 87 for ground, and 70 for water. So, interesting thing with this one. Water is always going to slow down your tank more than pretty much everything else. However, 70 as compared to 87 when on the ground, and of course road being 104, you're not losing too much when it comes to water. I mean, yes, it would be about like 30% of your crossing capacity. However, that is still a decent value when going through water, which is really interesting for this tank. But anyway, that does sum up pretty much all of its stats. Overall, I would say this is probably going to be a decent-ish tank. It's probably not going to be like super duper special, but it's probably not going to be like the worst thing ever either. Probably somewhere in the middle of the road there. But that does conclude the video, and so with that, I hope y'all enjoyed, and as always, have fun, good luck, and happy tanking.